Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. How's it going, guys? Let me get this thing over. I don't know how long this is going to go today because we're just trying to get, see two more these jurors. Hold on. Okay, there we go. It's over? They're done? No. I don't believe you. Weird. Okay, hold on. So I'm looking here and it's like they started in the middle of it. So I'm not sure what happened. Let's check in. Hold on. So if we skip
the wild animals in Africa.
The wild animals in Africa?
And your older daughter's in marketing.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to say. Mm-hmm. Yes.
What does that mean, marketing?
Well, she does marketing for beauty products and she works as a consultant in New York City.
And with respect to the jury trials you've sat on, I wasn't quite clear. I sometimes have a difficulty hearing.
Okay.
But with respect to the police officer case, was that a civil or criminal case? Was it the state against?
I knew I should have researched this. It was a long time ago, and
you should have researched it.
Pretty sure it was a case against the police officer.
A civil case or a criminal case? You don't remember?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Okay. And you stated that the police officer made a mistake. He thought a metal object was a weapon. Was that the issue in the case?
Well, the issue was that the man had been injured and was...
The man with the metal.
Right.
And the police officer was the one that injured him?
Stop hitting the microphone.
And,
what's wrong with these people?
So with respect to that case, if you get chosen on this case, would you be able to keep that case outside of the courtroom and just rely on the evidence and the law that you hear here?
Yes.
Because I suspect that other case was probably a civil case, and the law in a civil case is substantially different than a criminal case. So when you hear the law from the judge, you rely on this law and not something you heard years ago. You can do that, can't you?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for explaining that.
Lastly,
thank you for mansplaining that to me. I didn't understand.
You answer whether or not you want to be on this jury, and you say you're not sure, and you give a valid reason. In this case, being a juror in this case will carry a heavy burden of responsibility. Do you want to serve on the case, or not sure? I guess now is the time you make up your mind.
Okay, counsel,
Okay. Counsel.
you may answer. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I have had the benefit of living a long life. I
That's
feel
a
very
silly
blessed
objection
that I
because it
am
was
healthy
pointless.
and
Like the form of the
can
question
still
wasn't a big deal.
participate
Do you want to serve on the jury?
in our society meaningfully.
You
And
said it's a heavy burden.
so
You
in
want to
that
join.
respect, I would
Objection.
like to, I would feel honored to serve on the jury.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Earl Grey.
Thank you, ma'am. That's all I have, Your Honor.
YouTube did RGE dirty. What happened to RGE?
Thank you, ma'am. We'll pass this to Your Honor.
He lost his channel?
Okay, Mr. Frank?
What the hell for?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. Juror
morning.
57. I will second what Mr. Gray said about thank you for being patient with us and coming back a second time this morning. I also, it's
RGE is
so refreshing. It's so good to
a guy
hear
named Raging Golden
people who
Eagle.
have already
on
served jury
YouTube.
duty twice and still feel it's an honor to do it again. So thank you. It's not an
Adult
easy
content.
process, and we appreciate people who
Amazing.
do take it seriously. So thank you. With regard to the other cases, one was dismissed during the middle of the trial, it sounds like, right?
Yes.
Do you
Yes.
remember if that was civil or criminal?
No, I don't remember.
And really, whether they are civil or criminal, as Mr. Gray said, the bottom line question is, if you're a juror here, you got to set aside what you learned there and apply just the law that Judge Chu gives to you for this case.
Yes.
And you think you'd have any difficulty doing that?
He's like,
No.
do you
like those
understand
were
that we need
back
you
away
to
some
vote
time as
guilty?
well.
Yes.
Ayahuasca. This
you
guy?
talked
No, this
about
guy's the guy
the trauma
prosecuting
that-
Chauvin.
Brought attention to Minneapolis, and it sounds like, well, you recognize it some good and bad to that, the events that led to that kind of attention. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes.
The demonstrations, do you think had some positives to them?
I believe that it is a good time for us as a society to examine these issues that were brought forth by these events, and it's really an important time to look at these issues.
And do you think that
I don't know if this prosecutor's Binger level. We'll have to see how he acts at the
recognizing
actual
your duty
trial.
as a juror is just what happens in this courtroom?
Yes.
So you have no difficulty setting aside sort of experiences from before this year and just focusing on your job as a juror if you're selected?
No.
General Sortie says, waiting for the eventual post-hearing LARP stating Ninja Judge, Steel-clad Chad, and Executioner Earl Grey.
I think you rather candidly and understandably expressed, sadness for really both sides of this incident. Do you recall your answer about experiencing some sadness for the victim and sadness for the officer's career? You recall that answer?
Yes, I do recall that.
And like I said, there's understandable human emotions, but probably already told us this, but be able to set those emotions aside if you were a juror and selected in this case and decided only on the evidence.
Yes.
And, like what happens to a person's career is really not the evidence of the case. It's something outside of the case.
Judge, I object to that as talking about the evidence of the case, that it doesn't pertain or it does.
Well, the objection is overruled.
You can answer the question then.
Could you restate it?
Yeah. So, that sadness over what happens to a person's career is not part of the evidence, may not be part of the evidence that, is part of the trial.
You're right. Yes,
And
I
you could-
agree with that.
If it's not evidence in the trial, you can set that emotion
Yes.
aside.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to keep reading the super chats. Brad Hobbs says, apologies, Nick. I suggested during Rittenhouse
was
that y'all
that
could sing
chart
show tunes.
Responses,
Other night, I caught
agree,
Joe
disagree,
singing during one of his
that.
Maxwell raps.
some time
Proof
ago
of what a
here,
bad
that was-
idea you guys singing really is.
Are you referring to a specific?
Yep, in the questionnaire there.
Right. I remember that
Yeah.
section. Yes.
You indicated that the question was, I do not trust the police, and you said you somewhat disagree. So do you remember why you chose somewhat disagree there about do not trust the police?
Well,
Because I somewhat trust the police.
I generally trust the police, but there are occasions when
Kurt, no, don't shoot the stream.
we cannot trust the police.
They're people too. Is that fair?
Pardon me?
They are people too.
Right.
They're not people, they're
Obviously, if the case
monsters.
involves a police officer. You think you can be a fair and impartial juror in a case involving a police officer's actions.
Yes.
Just pass the juror. Oh my God, get done. What is wrong with you people? Just finish this. Finish this charade.
Excuse me for just a moment. Your Honor, may I have a moment, please?
Yes.
Now, mechanized soul, if someone shoots you and starts to reload their weapon, it's the threat is still imminent at that point.
Thank you, Juror 57, Your Honor. That's all the questions I have, and we would pass the juror for those.
You're going to be on this jury. We're going to start December 8th, and you will get a call from the jury office to confirm the time and the date, but that's what we expect will happen. All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
great
you.
rest of the day. All right.
Okay. That was only 12. Or 13, I mean. Nathan C. says, my daughter works in marketing for Axion/Taser.
There was an article this morning that was quite extensive in the Minneapolis paper about jurors and who's an alternate and who isn't. And they really shouldn't know that.
Yeah. They're told. They've been told before, and I think when they go through orientation, they're told again. They're told both in writing and orally. But I'll make sure if you still have concerns, I warn them not to look at any newspaper articles about the case or whatever. But
I understand.
yeah,
As long as they've been told that.
yeah. But I think it was reported what the practice is in Hennepin County on alternates. So, okay, are you ready for the next juror?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh yes, that's right. We're doing the panel.
Oh, God.
Okay, we have fresh ones.
I'm going to skip the panel in just a second. Avshar Agrasta says RGE taken down. Dapper Wolf says Raging Golden Eagle had his channel deleted. General Sortie says, make sure to simp for judge chat. Chat, their time is limited today.
Counsel, I know you probably slept. No first names, please. Do not use first names. I think you called your client Kim. So please refrain from doing that. Okay.
At least wasn't here.
True.
Admiral Nelson says, thoughts on rum? It's okay. I'm not the biggest fan. Squab says, hey, Nick, what's this about a BLM protester caught recording outside Judge Mommy's house last night? I think it was actually 2 nights ago, but the news cycle on it hit last night. Brandon James says, can you explain the issue with Joe being untagged? I'm not familiar with what happened. It just was not letting me tag Joe on the description. So don't know if YouTube had something out for his channel or if it was just a glitch. Weird stuff happens sometimes when you cover things like the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Corey Boatwright says, if Gage believes in BLM and systemic racism, was he so drunk he thought he was black? Seemed convenient they would shoot him for no reason, even though he's white. Bill Kroll says, 1-900 hot judge. Jack Sparrow says, I work night shift and have contractors in my house tearing everything out. Couldn't figure how I was going to sleep. This judge is doing the trick. Texas P12 says, I sent you a DM with a screenshot of a lawyer saying that the right to privacy is enumerated in First, Third, and other amendments. I was wondering where he was getting this. Also sent a link with screenshot. Name starts with works with. I'll have to check. If he said First and Third, that's really funny. Oh my gosh. So
Of our democracy, and we could not do this without you. The individual questioning is expected to be very short. I'll just have innocence. The presumption of innocence
look at how
remains with the verdict. On the first question is, do any of you chosen as a juror all instructed? Now, if so, please raise your hand.
this is still, I'm just going
I
to
want you
skip.
to worry
I'm
at
done
all
with
that
these
you're gonna miss
instructions.
Christmas, holidays.
Think we're about at the next juror. Polar Bear Diego says, objection, Your Honor. Could you please say ara ara for the jury? It will boost morale and prevent nightmares. Keep up the good work, Nick. Ara ara. Ara ara?
Oops. Okay. Your questionnaire that you really don't know very much about this case. Can you tell me what you've heard?
The only thing I've heard is I've seen, I think, the video maybe twice of just even just the part where
Hey, Ty.
the
How's it
shooting
going,
happens
buddy?
and she said taser, 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 and then said, "Oh no."
We
I shot
seated
him.
juror
But
number
that's pretty much
13,
all
so
I've,
1 to go.
heard about the case. I've kind of tried not to look into it that much.
Okay. You realize anything that you've heard or seen outside of this courtroom is in evidence, right?
Correct.
Okay. And that if you're chosen as a juror, you can only consider the evidence that you hear in court and not consider anything else that isn't.
Yes.
Okay. In response to one of the questions, the question being, do you believe your community has been negatively or positively affected by any of the demonstrations that have taken place in the Twin Cities area in the last 2 years? Your response in the questionnaire was that I feel nothing has, I think it says, changed.
Yeah, I guess I feel like I live far enough out that my community wasn't really impacted.
Okay.
I guess I've been
Okay.
where I live, I guess.
Okay. What city do you live in?
Eden Prairie.
Okay.
Yeah, in Eden Prairie, you're not going to be really affected by what happened in Minneapolis, even though it's not that far. It's
Your daughter's godfather is a St. Paul police officer?
Correct.
Okay. So I take it you're very good friends with him or her.
Yep. We just haven't seen enough of each other the last 2 years, but
Okay. But before that, you regularly saw, is it a her or a him?
it's a him.
Okay. So you have regular contact with him.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, we recently moved to Eden Prairie, so we don't see him as much as
All right.
before. But
Well, being the fact that you trusted him enough
In
to make
2021, you
him
have to ask if the
godfather,
godfather of
to
your
you,
child
real
is a her or
close.
him.
yeah, he's an awesome guy.
Okay. I
He's an
asked you a
awesome
bunch
dude
of
guy,
questions
bro.
about the testimony of police officers and whether you could use your judgment in determining credibility and not give them more weight than other witnesses. And can you do that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, I
even though
can
you're
because that bastard
one of
keeps
your
killing me in
close friends
Halo.
is a police officer.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. Because police officers you recognize are different and they're all human beings, right?
No, yeah,
Okay.
I've heard some stories.
Yeah. Would you want to elaborate on that?
No.
Just discussing out of this case or anything. Just in the past, like he mentioned, there's just some police officers aren't, the best.
Okay.
But then he also has some really good friends. So I guess
All right.
I'm neutral on that whole thing.
Okay. Okay, you've been a victim of a crime. I think you've got very interesting writing. I think
Crime
it says
is
Yeah,
theft.
happening for
looking at
you,
it.
Judge.
I think it says theft.
Yeah, so I guess in college, just my wallet was stolen out of
Alright.
my gym locker,
Okay.
but that's about it.
And you were satisfied with how the police responded?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a victim of a crime. I watched the first 10 minutes of the live action Cowboy Bebop.
In response to the question, because law enforcement officers have such dangerous jobs, it's not right to second guess decisions they make while on duty. You indicated that you strongly disagree with that. Can you explain why?
I think we're all just people, and just because you're in law enforcement, you shouldn't get extra leeway on your side. So I guess we should all be held accountable for our decisions.
Okay.
Let's see. Yankee James says, New York Yankee James says, can we take a moment to appreciate the fact that Kyle turned this commie into a literal lefty for life? John O'Brien says, wait, so the defense can't call their client by her first name, but the prosecution can refer to the complainant as victim. I miss Schrader.
In response
Yep.
to the question, do you believe our criminal justice system works? Why or why not? You wrote, it works with the laws in place, but the laws are not just. Could you elaborate on that?
I just feel like some laws impact certain groups more than others. So I mean, the way we're
Like taxes affect workers
laid out
more
now,
than
I
anyone
feel
else.
like it's working as a system, but there could always be changes made to the laws.
Do you have any laws in mind in particular?
No.
All right. Now, I'm going to give you the law that you have to apply.
Okay.
And you've got to apply that law whether or not you think the law is or should be different. Are you going to have a problem with that?
No.
Okay.
Chat, I love you guys, but if you were ever seating a jury, you would still be seating that jury to this day. There's no way you guys would ever seat
In
a
response to
jury.
the question, is there a reason
Not
why you would
Minnesota.
not be able to give your complete attention to a trial during the time that this case is going to be tried? You just stated young child. Can you explain what your answer means?
Yeah, I just have a 2-year-old toddler that being young and everything, just is in and
That's
out of
funny.
daycare,
I'm a
just, with
39-year-old
all the
toddler.
COVID
Toddler.
shutdowns and everything. But I don't think it should be an issue. I've worked stuff out with my parents that they'd be able to take over and watch it during the day if
Okay,
needed.
good.
Brian Luke says, Nick, we have standards. That's like Tess Holiday, saying she has standards because she isn't dating Chris Hemsworth.
If you're chosen as a juror, will you be open-minded, fair, and neutral?
Yes.
Okay. And can you think of anything about yourself that I should know about or the attorney should know about that it would impact on your ability to be fair and impartial?
I just called the chat fat.
And
Morbidly obese.
I think that's all the questions I have. So thank you.
Thank you.
Counsel?
Good morning, number 58.
Morning.
Earl Gray, Paul Lang, Kim Potter, and Amanda Montgomery are lawyers. Obviously, Kim Potter is not one on trial.
Wait, what?
Because the state has a burden of proof in this case, they
Did
go
Gray's
first.
brain break there?
And not until they are complete can we present, excuse me, our case. Would you be able to keep an open mind and wait until all of the evidence is in before you come to any conclusion?
Yes.
All right. You'd follow the law of the presumption of innocence and presume our client not guilty?
Yes.
And you'd require the state to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. Is that right?
Correct.
And the judge at the end of the case will again define those rules and you'll follow them. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Yeah. Put them on. They're done.
Oh, excuse me. Okay.
They're done. They're like, get this done. No problem with the answers. Get it done. Dapper Wolf says, Nick, can you tell chat to go to Tug's Twitter, that umbrella guy's Twitter, to retweet YouTube for Raging Golden Eagle? Yes, but how about, to make it a little easier for the chat, I'll retweet Tug's tweet, and then you can retweet from me. It might be easier if you don't already follow that
Good
umbrella
morning,
guy.
Juror 58. Thank you for being here with us. And sorry to just refer to you by number, but that's just the way the system works. So sorry about that. I come third in line, so a lot of my questions have already been answered, and I have listened to your answers, and I appreciate them. I just have one thing I want to follow up on. In your answers, remember that chart
Yep.
with the different I agree and don't agree? There was, one where, you indicated about, and I want to just make sure I get this right. That, people don't give law enforcement officers the respect they deserve. And you indicated you strongly disagree with that.
Yes. So the question, I don't feel like they get the respect they deserve. And I
Right.
disagree with that strongly. Correct?
Right.
Yeah, I guess at least in my community, I see police officers having a lot of respect. And then even my, friend, who's a police officer, for the most
I'll be
part,
right back,
he
guys.
seems to feel like he gets, the respect that he deserves.
Yeah. And yet it seems like from knowing your friend, the police officer, they're people too, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to say yes.
Yes. Sorry.
It's a hard habit to break. We'll work on it a little. And so that's why you wouldn't have any difficulty. Is that why you would not have any difficulty evaluating a police officer's testimony the same as anybody else?
That is correct.
And the same way, with a former police officer on trial here, you would consider the evidence just apart from the fact that they had a uniform on at the time. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And evaluate the evidence as it's presented here in court.
Correct.
Well, Juror 58, as I said, a lot of my questions were asked. So, if you could give me just a moment, please. Your Honor, may I have
Okay.
that?
Are we going to be done? Guys, I can only have like one drink today because I have to drive after, this afternoon. So I made sure I finished my bottle of Lagavulin last night. So I had to switch to only the finest, most pure sipping liquor. Military special, handcrafted, ultra premium vodka.
Thank you, Juror 58. I don't have any further questions, Your Honor. We passed the jury.
Okay, you're gonna be a juror. We're gonna start December 8th. You're gonna get a call from the jury office just to confirm the date, time, and where you show up.
Okay.
Okay? So, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, God. Oh, it smells delicious.
All right, counsel, we have our jury. I
Yeah.
want to thank both sides for being efficient in questioning.
Hashtag both sides. This judge is a
I'm
fence-sitting
really glad we're
centrist.
on track to start when we're supposed to start. What I'll do is I'll send you a draft of the jury instructions as soon as I get them done. And I expect to be able to do that by the end of the day. Okay. Then what we can do is you'll probably want to take a look at them.
On the
some time
nose,
to look
it's
at them.
you get a little bit of some special
thinking
notes. I get
we
notes
can
of
meet-
backseat of a
Why don't
1983
we do
Datsun.
this? Why don't
In
we
2021?
plan to meet Monday morning?
God.
Today's Friday, right? Why don't we plan to meet Monday morning? Let's say 9 o'clock. We'll go through the jury instructions.
Oh.
We'll have an answer for you on the autopsy photos. And we'll hopefully at that time be able to talk about objections to exhibits. Okay? So Monday morning, 9 o'clock. And then I'll rule on any remaining motions in limine on Monday. Okay. We'll probably take Tuesday off, assuming that we get everything done on Monday. If not, we can, reconvene and finish up whatever we didn't finish up on Monday, and so that we're starting Wednesday with any objections already ruled on, all stipulations agreed upon. Okay. Mr. Gray, did you want to say something?
Well, the motions in limine and objection to exhibits, we have a large amount of exhibits from the state, and we really appreciate the disc from them so we could get that done by Monday.
Okay. Any updates on when the disk or hard drive is going, what do you call this? That? All
I
right.
checked this morning, Your Honor, just before we came to court, before we came to the courtroom, and it looks like we're making pretty good progress on that. This will give me an opportunity to double check and hopefully get something to them by the end of the day. We'll work out the physical exchange of that.
Okay.
I can get a look at them today, so I think we're in good shape there.
Do you
I'll
want to
give you my
reconvene on
flash
Monday
drive.
afternoon, or you think you'll be ready at 9 o'clock?
For the afternoon, I think we
What?
9 o'clock would be fine.
Okay. Okay. Let's just keep it at 9 o'clock. We can always, go into the afternoon if we're not done. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
if we get the exhibit, we don't really get if we get the exhibits today or the disc, Monday morning would be fine, but if we don't get them today, Monday morning, we really wouldn't be prepared to do that. We might be prepared in the
Just
afternoon.
order
if we
the
got
state
Monday
to turn
morning.
over the exhibits today. Oh my
Mr.
God.
Gray, we could work on jury instructions in the morning.
All right, good.
Okay. All right. Anything else of a procedural nature or legal nature?
How has the state not turned over the exhibits in this
Okay,
case yet?
council. Have a good weekend, everyone. And we will see you Monday morning at 9:00.
Well, just we would waive Officer Potter's appearance for the jury charge procedure, if that is okay.
Okay. We discuss this. We'll have in-chambers discussions about jury instructions. And Officer Potter has agreed that she won't be in attendance for that, correct? All right. And then, of course, we'll put everything on the record. Any objections to what I would consider the final instructions, we'll put everything on the record afterwards.
So very jury,
All
the
right.
jury instructions are actually going to be over in just a second. Or, oh wait, no, jury selection's over. Jury instructions, you said. No, you said selections. Yeah, jury selection is done. Finito. It is finished. It is finished. Famous quote from the Bible. Kind of a different context going on. Okay. So that gives me the opportunity to do something here. We're done. We're done with that. That whole section is done. I've got a bunch of super chats from yesterday, a couple from today to read through. We're going to read those, and then we'll probably finish up the show. There's not much to do today, which is great. I have a bunch to do personally, so I was kind of worried that this would end up running into that 4 o'clock time, but we are not. Where am I focused? Goodness gracious. But looks like we will not. And then Monday, they said jury instructions and motions in limine. And then Tuesday, I think they said the day was off. Wednesday, the trial will start. So pretty crazy how long they're going to have this take. They're not just going to plow through it. We're going to go on our language schedule. Yeah, that'll be great. And so, if you don't know, if you're not familiar with the term, a motion in limine is a pretrial motion to exclude evidence from being introduced at trial. That's the thing that Binger ignored in regards to, Rittenhouse and the prior acts evidence that he was trying to get in there. That was dealt with it by a motion in limine. And then he just ignored that and went on with it. So, but with that, guys, let's jump into these chats. Let's wrap up. This has been a phenomenal week, but I need to get some things done and then get to, get to my weekend, which will be great. I will maybe be able to, if you're one of my locals followers, I think we might be able to get a live chat in today. We weren't able to do it Wednesday. If the schedule holds, we'll do live chat on Tuesday of next week because there will be a break there. So I'll keep everybody posted on that. This weekend, there will probably not be much for video. I will be with Lady Rackets. We've got an event to go to, although I think I have to make an appearance on Drex's show tomorrow as it's the 1-year anniversary of his show starting. So I'll probably be doing that at some point. I don't know when because I have some stuff going on this weekend, but there may be some locals exclusive streams if you want to see that. If you want to see locals exclusive streams, ricadalaw.locals.com. It is free. It is free to sign up. It is free to even watch exclusive live streams on locals that I don't do them on YouTube. I don't do them anywhere else. So it is currently free to do that. Those are, you can join, follow over there. You don't have to pay anything. And you can consume that content if you want. That'll be a completely different feel to whatever's going on here. That's much more personal and intimate. But no, I will not be on Flashcast. DSBT. I won't be on Flashcast this week because during Flashcast I'll actually be at a charity dinner. So I can't do it. There will also not be a YouTube live stream tonight. There will not be one tonight. Sorry. Maybe a locals one, very chilled chat, but it's going to be Lady Rackets and I, just hanging out. So we don't get a ton of time away from the kids. And I don't know if I'll be doing a live stream at all, but it all depends. So anyway, is there anything else I need to talk about before I jump into these chats? I don't think so. Oh, if you guys did not watch last night's show, Jeff Cases need baby number 5. We've had 5 babies. Already have baby number 5. If you did not watch last night's show, I reviewed the Gage Grosskreutz DUI body cam footage. And about an hour into the show, Andrew Branca joins. And it was phenomenal. We were dying. Actually, I don't know if it was good for you guys. We were cracking up the whole time, having a great conversation. It was a phenomenal show. So make sure you check it out. The nighttime show is a little different pace, and sometimes the topics get a little weird, like when we interview diaper fetishists or whatever. But last night was just some good old pure dunking on a couple of drunks getting pulled over by cops, thinking they could outsmart the cops. And we had a good time. All right. Let me do this. Here we go. Whiskey Theorizes says, can you weigh in on the case of Polly versus Drunkle? Where do you land on the legal name of Earth's lone satellites? What, the moon, Luna, giant cheese wheel in the sky? The stuff that came out of Earth's pimple. What are the contenders? I don't know. Pancake Turd says, Nick, what would happen if in deliberation a juror disregards the judge's instructions and started bringing up a bunch of things from outside the courtroom? Does that juror get replaced? No. Juror deliberations are protected. They're allowed to discuss kind of whatever they want. Now, if a juror in deliberations were to suggest that they were influenced by media, or they had some, they're like, the defendant bribed me or something like that, at that point, they could, the other jurors could bring up stuff to, they could bring up those issues to the judge. They could send out a jury questionnaire and ask for a replacement, or say that this person's been compromised. But just in general, they can discuss whatever they want. General Sorty says, the Honorable Judge Naptime presiding. Andrew Clark says, judge playing Halo. I'll chew you up and spit you out. Rick Nikita says, T, Earl Grey, hot. XSSFD 132 says, where did they get all these left-leaning potential jurors from? Is Minnesota that liberal? Yes. Minnesota's been that liberal for 40 years, at least. Especially the Twin Cities. But yeah, Minnesota in general has been liberal for quite a long time. Very, very liberal. I was saying this to Emily Baker yesterday when she was on. I wasn't saying it to her. I was conversing with her and mentioned that Minnesota has the second highest tax burden in the nation after California. It's crazy how communistic Minnesota is. Remember, it's all Scandinavians. Look at Scandinavian countries and tell me why you think that Minnesota would not be liberal. I'll wait. God, that's so good. Oh. 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 Wow. Oh, the Somalis. Yeah, guys. All the Scandinavians were like, "Oh yeah, bring the Somalis over, okay? It's okay. It's good. Good, yeah. Bring them over." That's it's remember those stories about like in Sweden and Norway, what happened with their refugee issues, we'll call them. Yeah, it comports exactly with the settlers of Minnesota. That Alex Jones song, right? The "We love our Somalis, we love our Muslims. I'm gonna stab your daughter at the mall." That was from an hour north of me. That was from St. Cloud, Minnesota. That was the mall stabbing, the mall security officer who decided to go on a stabbing rampage. Fun story. One of my clients was a stabby in that. So that was cool. Former clients, I mean, handled that situation several years ago. It's done. But I was not representing them in the stabbing. I was representing them in an unrelated issue. But then I found out, oh, you got stabbed. Arcane's Third Lung says, "What's wrong with fat people? They keep you warm in the winter and shady in the summer." Mithrin Emmer says, "Good Lord, can we start a GoFundMe to get Earl Grey some throat lozenges? I swear he clears his throat 11 billion times per hour." Jeff K says, "I hope Tom Bernard, KQRS, had you on his podcast or show. Maybe I'll tweet them out. Keep up the good work." Yeah, they have not currently reached out. Call Me Straws sent a unicorn. Sorensen Farm says, "This judge may be pretty, but she looks like a German Shepherd compared to the judge for Nicholas Cruz." Nicholas Cruz judge is very pretty. Bone says, "I'm not copist. I have a cop friend." Brandon James says, "Let court security know that foam and duct tape axes are permissible." I do owe the chat an apology. Someone has sent me, I'll own this. I'll own this. Okay. Someone has sent me the likely identity of one of the jurors, the Chad Axlarp juror. I will not share it on stream. I will not tell people in private who it is. There's nothing like that. This person happens to know that person or like have interacted with them before. And through social media posts, their identity can be pretty reasonably verified based on some of the voir dire questions, which I won't get into which ones or anything like that. But let me just say there's a high degree of likelihood that this is the correct person. And so I need to own up to the chat. Chat was right about him in some ways. He seems to have some pretty woke takes on social media. Very woke takes. So very, very woke takes. Not communist takes, but woke takes. So it's hard to tell from the posts if they're leftists, which is one thing, or if they're libertarian, which is a second thing. And libertarians can have some pretty woke ideas. It's coming from a libertarian, a small L libertarian. But But yeah, it's well, you can't win them all. I mean, I could just craft the narrative, but integrity. Oh God, that is so bad. It is terrible vodka. Ugh. White Alakazam says, "Yo, Nick, I got jury duty Monday with my number above 200. I didn't get any kind of questions like these people got. You think mine's going to be short, trying to see if I want to try and get out of it? I have no idea what yours will be like. What state are you in? It's probably just not as big of an issue as this one." Who drinks vodka straight? I don't mix drinks very much. Tito's is smoother vodka. Why don't you read my super chat? Says prosecutor. I still need to use handbrake on my video to send to the defense. Like, seriously, what has the prosecution been doing that they have not turned over all of the evidence on the flash drive to the defense? This is insanity. HBG313 says, Nick, I swore you were a self-described conservative. I mean, how do I word this? I'm personally conservative. Like my personal actions, I guess, are predominantly conservative, but I'm libertarian, small L again, in the fact that I tend to not impose my views on other people. So I don't, that's my thing. Let me be conservative on my own, and I'm not super interested in what you do. Does that make some sense? I hope that makes some sense. MTPIO, welcome to paralegal status. Thank you. BG says, did you see info on the state taking this case away from the county? How normal is that? I think in this case, the county may have asked the state to do it. I don't remember. Nicole Silvensky says the Upper Peninsula is full of Scandinavians. They're based AF. Okay. I'll trust you on that. I'll trust you. Jamie Pulliam says, did you check to see if Branca is still alive? Is he tweeting today? I hope so. I hope we didn't ruin his tweeting. Luna or the moon? Pick one. I mean, the name of the celestial object is Luna. It's colloquially referred to as the moon. No, I'll fence sit on this one. I don't care. Bobbert says, what exactly is the point of autopsy photos? Known as disputing that she shot and killed him, just a state saying, look at how awful this is. No, you got it. Someone asked me to pull up a picture of the Nicholas Cruz judge. Give me just a second. Oops. Let me get a good picture of her. A good high-res picture of her. That's what we want. Here we go. Chat, try and contain yourselves. I've seen how you act with the 68-year-old Asian judge. But if you could just keep it down for Nicholas Cruz's judge. There she is. So, let's see. Rolling Stone says, round of applause for Gage Groskowitz. Someone give this man a hand. So that's enough of that. That's enough of that. Oh yeah, how's my tweet doing? Yeah, so my tweet. So Raging Golden Eagle is a guy who is a uh content creator, or was a content creator on YouTube, who also is working on a independent graphic novel. This is one of my pet peeves. Whether, again, it's not about whether you like people or not. You don't, if you like content creators or not is irrelevant. The question is, should they be canceled, or do we actually like want to uphold the principle of free speech, even if, maybe free speech under the First Amendment only applies as government is trying to restrict speech. But as a greater society, we can go ahead and understand the underlying principle of free speech is a good. It's a moral and societal good to allow people to speak. His channel was canceled for quote unquote sexualized content. All right. Because he talks about anime and he talks about hentai, and his graphic novel is it's not a pornographic book, but it has nudity in it. And so somewhere in that mix, there's apparently that has traversed into adult content. The thing about this is, if you're not aware, YouTube itself, if you go on YouTube, do not do this unless you're prepared to deal with the results, and you search nude yoga on YouTube. The thumbnail of the video, not even just in the video, one of the thumbnails is a nude woman sitting in a pose, holding her legs up in a split, and a full-on frontal shot of her vagina. This is a thumbnail on YouTube, and it's not new. This is old. This video's been there forever. And so if you're going to say that Raging Golden Eagle and his anime characters, who he does not show nude on stream ever, it's always censored, because most, we as content creators know. And one time I was covering the Nexium case several years ago, and I made the mistake of searching for pictures of Allison Mack on Google, because she was the person. I was like, oh, this is the girl from Smallville. Do you guys remember what she looks like? And I had my Google page up, and I typed in Allison Mack and hit enter, and right on the screen was a fake picture of Allison Mack. It was a deep fake, but breasts were visible. And I was like, oh my God. Thought I was going to get my channel canceled. I had to go in and edit the video, because this is a live stream. I had to go in and edit it and blur it out. But yet, stuff like nude yoga and all that stuff, it sits around on YouTube for years and years and years, millions of views. I remember this video that I saw several years ago is about breathing techniques. In one of the Hulk movies or the Avengers movies, where the one with Mark Ruffalo, where he's sitting down with one of the Gracies, one of the Gracie brothers, and they're doing the breathing with the stomach moving around. It's where Hulk learns to contain his rage or whatever. Super stupid, but he does that stomach breathing. Well, there are videos of people doing that weird stomach breathing on YouTube, right? They show you how to like move your stomach around, and apparently they think that somehow helps with your breathing circulation. There's a video of that. That's Ed Norton that did that one. Okay, sorry. I can't. They've picked so many different Hulks, and none of them are Hulks, except for Eric Bana was actually like a big guy. But the rest of them were not Hulks. It doesn't matter. I can't remember which one. There was a video on YouTube, and it's probably still there, of a woman doing that. And it's just, the pictures on her lower torso or whatever. And she pulls her shorts aside and just completely flashes her vagina, and it's like, oh, I now understand why there's 13 million views on this video of a woman breathing through her stomach. That stuff stays on YouTube forever. And then you get a guy like Raging Golden Eagle who's making content that is not erotic. It is not evocative. It is not some pretext for delivering nudity through YouTube's algorithm. It's just a guy talking about stuff that he's interested in. It's just a guy selling a comic book and appreciating anime and stuff like that. And YouTube takes that stuff down. That's what pisses me off. It's inconsistent, and it probably has a lot to do with the fact that RGE is pretty far from a liberal. If I had to guess. All right. OG Lock says, bro, why are you drinking so early, Lamau? I'm celebrating. Doesn't this look like celebration? God, this is awful vodka. It's awful for vodka. Full Adulation says, wow, just saw vagina waxing videos pop up. Yep. That's YouTube. I mean, it's there. It's educational. So therefore it's fine. Very educational. Oh. God, that vodka is disgusting. Yuck. Black Tiger says, sorry, Nick, new simping target. Come judge me. Philly Witch Doctor 99 says, how did RGE get deleted when nude yoga is allowed? YouTube is a bunch of hypocrites. They are. Okay. That's caught up on today. Yesterday. I'm going to burn through these. Here we go. Vanch Agarwal says, Jurors seems like a pure centrist to me. These are from yesterday's show. Full Disadulation says, I was a juror in a St. Paul criminal trial, sequestered for 16 hours, slept in a sleep number bed, and ate amazing meals in hotel's rooftop restaurant. CSAN says, jury members should get government-mandated guns to remove the fear of being attacked and gang stalked after the verdict. Ty Mao says, Santa Claus degree. STFU says, Your Honor, we, the seated members of the chat, humbly request that the juror questionnaires be provided to us so we can follow along. I think I could have given those. They're available in this. The blank juror questionnaires are available. Tim C says, even playing you at 1.5x speed with her at 1.5x speed, you can still understand her. Black Tiger says, could it be the judge is quiet now because she gets loud at night? Doubt gavel banging is the only banging she concerns herself with in a given day. Y'all need to stop. NW Justice Project says, still jury selection. I'm going back to bed. Lol. Albert Yatu says, I bet this guy drives a Vespa and has a pump action Daisy BB gun. Jensen Zeiger says, not a single officer would pull you over in Texas for going 1 over. Greatest state ever. I don't remember the case, but there's actually a very famous case of 1 mile per hour over the limit. It had nothing to do with speeding and everything to do with the officer flat out stating that he pulled over the driver because the driver was black. That was his purpose. He was profiling the driver, said driver's black. So I pulled him over because I was suspicious, but also he was going 1 mile over the limit. And the court said, that's fine. That's fine because going over the limit is fine. And it is fine to have an improper motive so long as you have legal justification in a traffic stop. So there you go. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you guys are aware of the Gage Grosskreutz DUI being dropped. There's some circulation out there because I assert that Gage Grosskreitz's DUI was dropped in exchange, even if it wasn't overtly stated, for his testimony against Kyle Rittenhouse. And I was told by someone that no, it looks like a legitimate drop because there was they attacked the stop as improper, and they said fruit of the poisonous stop, which is that's not a real thing, but I guess maybe the concept that since the stop was improper, therefore the justification for the DUI was not valid. And they said the stop was not proper because, now let me just tell you real quick, this is not a correct analysis. It's not a correct analysis, but this is the analysis that's floating around about this, okay? Because this is what was in the motion to suppress, which is what ultimately led to the case being dropped. But it's not a proper analysis, and I'll point out why. They cite a case, State v. Jones, I think, or James. State v. Jones or State v. James, doesn't matter. And the justification that they are citing is that the statute for using a right turn signal in Wisconsin requires that other traffic may be impacted by the right turn signal. And there are cases out there where a guy was in the left turn lane, made a left-hand turn without using a turn signal. A cop was in the right lane to the right of that guy, pulled him over, but then that guy won and said, traffic wasn't impacted, so I didn't need to make a turn signal. And the cop's like, I was there. And the judge's like, yeah, but you weren't impacted because you were going the other way. No big deal. State v. James or State v. Jones, the case that they actually cite on that issue that says that the turn signal does not need to be used or whatever, it's the exact same as the Gage Grosquitz case, and the state won. The state actually won that argument. The judge said, even if the stop is improper, even if they didn't have to, the tail light was, they pulled over for the tail light improperly, the indicators for driving under intoxication were all still present and they're all justified. So the state won. So if you're going to cite like the document and say, oh, they made this legal argument, you always got to check the underlying case law. And that case law was not solid. Not solid. So anyway, Plasky Jack Deska says, your stream and ASMR judge are the best ambient to playing Prison Architect. Greetings from Poland. ASO says, nose bobbleheads win. It's just a giant nose. That'd be great. Warrior Biatch says, Ricada, had me on to discuss law enforcement training. I was a POSC, Principles of Subject Control / PCS, Professional Comm Skills instructor. We could probably work that out at some point. Sam Grayson says, prosecutor in the Michigan school shooting just announced involuntary manslaughter charges against the kid's parents. Any way that actually sticks? Only if the Michigan statute can link involuntary manslaughter to negligent storage of a firearm. Because the dad had bought the firearm that the kid used on Black Friday. If there was negligent storage, that would lead to involuntary manslaughter. I don't know, but that's the way I see how that could possibly happen. Kyle Bogue says, libertarian here, the party, and especially in Minnesota, is a total joke. Use CNN facts on race to appeal to commies. Party chair is a woke St. Paul landlord who's now pissed about St. Paul rent control. He got what he deserved. Never be in the Libertarian Party. I will advocate libertarian principles all day. Never be a member of the Libertarian Party. They are the worst libertarians that exist. They're terrible. Don't do it. Don't do it. Wolfgang Deo says, judicial power does not necessitate ultimate deciding power. They cannot decide the Constitution is bad. It was not spoken of as such. Tampa Guy says, John Marshall should have recused himself as he was involved in the case as Adams Secretary of State. Also, he hated Jefferson. Jonathan, this is back to Marbury versus Madison. Jonathan Baxter says, regardless of the founder's intent, judicial review is far better than the alternative, which simply leads to majority rule. I don't know if that's actually true on that personally. Wolfgang Deo says if they wanted what Marbury versus Madison gave, then they should have amended the Constitution to say that it is invalid. How do we remove it? You're not going to undo Marbury versus Madison now. It's just an academic discussion. Undoing it at this point would unravel all of American society because it would unravel every single binding precedential decision done. So we can talk about Marbury versus Madison as judicial overreach. We can use it as instructive on how the court took power. We can use it as a cautionary tale and hope that the court realizes what they've done and the power they've taken and have gotten away with adds a bunch of responsibility to them to make wise decisions. But undoing it the effects would be chaos. It'll never happen. Megorius June says the way good logic described grooming is basically the school system. Nana1776 says, I sent you a DM on Twitter regarding an arrest of someone tampering with the judge in the Potter trial. Yes. We'll see. Wolfgang Deo says, Rekieta Media is literally a news network with reporters, Lamau, covering current, past, local, and national lawsuits. Someday, how about a boring one? It's not applicable. It says, wait, does this mean all girlfriends are groomers? Besides the gifts, this sounds like how women manipulate men in relationships. Absolute HOEs. Starving030 says, in that scenario, wouldn't the executive branch come in and enforce civil rights violations that a state imposes on its citizens? Potentially. It's possible. Callus Morn Rex says, even if you are a pro-choice, which I am, due to Castle Doctrine, you have to admit Roe versus Wade was legislation from the bench. Jonathan Baxter says, I'll take Roe versus Wade as an abuse of power in order that SCOTUS stands between me and the majority that will happily curtail my constitutional rights. Project's Done Poorly says, the question is, do you actually have a constitutional right to abortions? Roe versus Wade, again, is a constitutional right only for a subset of women, only for a subset of pregnant women. So only pregnant women who want to terminate their pregnancies get the constitutional right under Roe versus Wade. No one else has access to it. And consequently, Roe versus Wade has not assisted anyone else in defeating constitutional violations from the state. Nobody else is, like, Roe versus Wade has not had cross-platform benefits, right? You're not getting First Amendment cases being upheld under the staunch legal processes and principles behind Roe versus Wade. So it has not done any of those things. It could, and if it did, maybe there would be validity to it, right? Like if Roe versus Wade, bodily autonomy was used to justify, or to invalidate things like the Controlled Substances Act, for example, or to allow bodily autonomy in vaccine mandates. If those things existed, if that happened from Roe versus Wade, maybe there'd be a different discussion. None of that is actually translated. Project on Poorly says, Nick, what is your advice on using a self-assembled AR-15 for defense or a factory complete AR, i.e. I bought the parts and put it together? It doesn't matter. The lower receiver is the firearm. It's regulated the exact same. So use the one that works properly. Use the most reliable one to keep you alive. The defense of the case in either way is going to be, if you bought a gun, they're going to complain about how you bought it. If you built a gun, they're going to tell you you built it so you're crazy and wanted to murder people. If you bought it, you wanted to murder people. If you built it, you want to murder people. Bronca and I talked about this last night. There is no correct caliber. There's no correct bullet type, hollow point versus full middle jacket versus green tip, whatever. Green tip NATO rounds. Oh, you NATO rounds? You bought military only rounds? Like, oh my God. Use tracer rounds. So you're trying to light them on fire while you murder them. It doesn't matter what you do. Everything will always be wrong. So the principles of self-defense are what get you out. There is no There's no better gun to use to defend yourself. No better situation. Kyle Rittenhouse used a rifle, and the defense or the prosecution tried to make it out like a pistol would have been better. Oh, if you'd only shot them with a pistol, then somehow that would have been better. And if you would have used a pistol, they would have said, "Oh man, pistols aren't very accurate. They don't show as much. You say you're trying to deter people. Why didn't you bring a bigger gun that people would have seen?" That's how prosecutors work. Call me Straws. Thanks for the unicorn. Blue-eyed Roof Korean the base says, if threats must be true and not idioms, are threats assault? I mean, they fall under the same thing. They're crimes of intent, intended to create apprehension. They fall under the common law definition of assault for civil purposes. But in Texas, threats are actually in the assault statute also. Threats of imminent bodily injury and or imminent serious bodily injury and or death are in the assault statute in Texas. Assaulting my governor comes with enhanced sentence, but threats get them to not run in 2022. Don't threaten public officials or potential public officials. But threats don't have to be true. They just have to be discernible as a threat, clearly discernible as a threat, not some turn of the phrase. Celtic Commando Gaming says, could you attack Roe via the Equal Protections Clause? Claim bodily autonomy is a right that isn't equally applied to all. You could, but it hasn't been successful to my knowledge. Kenneth Slayer says, I want an amendment that outlaws legislation from the bench, but gives call of the House to the bench to arrest legislatures into session until they address the issue. The court cannot decide from existing law. Advocate for it. Write the amendment. Then write your senators. Oh. Next. Sorry. Stretching. Tired. Long week. Daniel Arendt, welcome to Paralegal Status. Some generic name says that Alec Baldwin interview reminded me of a moment from The Hunt for Red October. Baldwin is in the Russian sub, and when handed a gun, he says, I can't take that. I don't even know how to use it. Shocked Kitten says, explain male circumcision in the USA on infant girls were outlawed being circumcised in 1997. Why doesn't the boy have a right to his body? I don't know. It's probably rooted in religious tradition. And because we're based on Judeo-Christian principles, people have just not gone into the issue of male circumcision. I think there's a difference between male and female circumcision that can be recognized even if you're opposed to both. But, I'm not a big fan of this subject in general. People get really, really heated over it. Blue-eyed Roof Korean the base is mandatory direct deposit, violate the Fourth Amendment. Maybe it should. But the person mandating the direct deposit is not the state. Bitter Snuffleupagus says, this is an example of the courts overreaching. Legislators are supposed to make the laws. Courts mediate the gray areas between them. HIPAA is a prime example of this. Lazy politician is a problem. Jennifer Michelle says, isn't Casey the current standard on abortion and not Roe? Also, RBG called Roe bad law. Yes, Casey is the current standard, which is fetal viability. Roe's standard was 28 weeks, 2 trimesters. But they changed it to fetal viability under Casey, said that was more clear. But Roe is still the basis for Casey's existence in the first place. Valerith says, could it be argued that Roe is founded in other laws that reference the penumbra of a right to privacy? Or was your point the problem is how sacrosanct Roe is? Also, first super chat ever. I read this one yesterday, but it's a good question. It can be argued. You can argue whatever you want, and it's likely true that it's founded in some way in other laws that reference the penumbra. In fact, that's what the Supreme Court wrote in their decision. But that is not how we determine rights under penumbras of other laws that reference this thing. And my point is that the problem is how sacrosanct Roe is. Yes, to both of these things, by the way. See, now the chat is going. Chat, that question about circumcision was from yesterday. Don't get sucked in. Don't get sucked in. Chaos Schley says, preach it. Wolfgang says, hey guys, my dead name is Nick. Turns out I'm a gay trans and I wish for you to respect my authority. From here on, my name is Zoo and pronouns are nerding. Ashley Ogburn says, could a lawyer dox on purpose to save a preemptory strike? They could do that. They would face potential sanctions. Mark Gee says, will redo of The Healer get a second season? In Japan, yes. I don't know if it'll come to the U.S. Also, since Japan has produced degenerate material like this and Futanari after World War II, was nuking Japan the wrong choice, or should we have dropped more? Look, if you're going to nuke, you got to get the whole job done. Otherwise, anime exists. You can't nuke them again, because if you nuke Japan again, at last time we got to anime, who knows what the future would hold after that. Japan should be the most nuke-proof country on earth. No nukes for Japan. Jay Holler says, did you hear about Cortez Rice, the guy who tried to dox Judge Chu, getting arrested in Wisconsin for jury tampering? I did hear about that. Mark Ramirez, thank you for the donation. EMT2666 says, if you ever do a case about a truck driver, can I be a guest? 21 plus years as an over-the-road truck driver, I specialize in hazardous materials. Maybe. JMD Reed says, I thought the police were defunded. Surely they could spruce up the courtroom with all that money they're saving. Now take my money, grifter. Mark Ramirez says, Roe versus Wade is so important to the left because it's modern child sacrifice. I mean, why else are they building a temple of Baal in New York? Silence Phoenix says, what circle of hell do you think they belong in for the people that order straws the same height as the cup? Evil Nazi people. Allison C says, target juror is now Schrodinger's juror. Jay Carter, thank you for the donation. Tyler Ventura says, speak slow and dirty, closing in on 270 electoral votes. Jay Carter says, if this judge's Twitter handle was @Chu, God bless you. That would be awesome. Z. Michael Gelke says, ASMR judge only punishes you so you can be a good boy next time. P. Fab says, I want to eat her fortune cookie. Oh, stop it. The Lorax says, simps are the chat captains now. Derek Firestone says, govern me harder, mommy. Damnation 3 says, clapping cheeks and breaking hips. Bryant McCracken says, I'd beat the dust off Judge ASMR. Doll Skinny Geek says, nearly 25% of the people watching affirmatively voted for simpage. I say ban all the heathens. Johnny Stovel says, lots of volunteers to be Juror 69 for Jilf Chu. Sport Nugget says, I joined very late. I'm watching y'all watch this judge at 2x speed. Why can I still understand her? NGE fan says, chat is more thirsty for this judge than Jay Sean Lemoyne getting caught thirsting after Dominique Sky on Twitter. Gross and embarrassing for him. Hunting Orion says, this chat is chaotic neutral. Dark Side says, have you seen the judge in the Nicholas Cruz trial? Can we watch that, Papa Riqueda? I pulled her up here. I actually do plan on watching the sentencing hearing for Nicholas Cruz, see if he gets the sentencing mini trial, see if he gets the death penalty or not. Politician says, I have the Chu flu. Wolfgang Deo says, after the WD-40, she ain't Miyagi yet. Rhinos 123 says, unable to confirm via other sources outside quartering, Jussie Smollett trial revealed a rehearsal tape of the hoax. Mandalore Wise says, Nick, why I drop into this? Kill me now. Peter Cole says, love you putting up a poll with these options and judging my answer. Judge me gently, daddy. P.S. Got to go to work soon, so good luck. Matt Ackers says the judge was reprimanded in 2005 for admitting to driving over the legal alcohol limit. Not only is she mommy, but a baddie. Ooh, Judge Chu drinking a little bit heavy on the job before driving. Not a good idea. Mike Mysterio 13 says, as Lemons, sanction me harder, Judge Mommy. I've been a bad boy looking for con sluts. Boone, thank you. TPA Hunter says, is it common/uncommon, preferred, not preferred for potential jurors to address the judge as Your Honor? Common and probably preferred, Your Honor or Judge. Just go with Your Honor or Judge. Rain 432 says, municipal job equals public sector union, just like the police. Gonfall says, I noticed that masks and interrupt peripheral vision. I read that one. Bitter Snuffleupagus says, is it sad these people get their police reform ideas from the Police Academy movies? Gonfall says, reforming is different from defunding. Had she said defunded, defunding means taking away funds. Reforming means changing the ways of law enforcement. Human number 10 says, oh my God, social justice rules, and my name is like Ashley B. Hate her. Andre Tukulescu says, future Binger girl. Gonfall says, okay, she's definitely an SJW. Jesus Christ. Pincalo, the driving ape, says 70 is the new 50, Nick. Oscar R says, yeetus, deletus, this juror. Jimmy Crackcorn says, heat allergic, Nick. Hey, honey, crank up the AC because it's business time. Austin says, we're not the best, but we're not the worst. Political science majors are the worst. Guy Sokor says, but she's earnest and sincere and a woman. Stefan Stalkup says, you should do Mark Richards going over the jury questionnaire with this girl. First super chat. Oh God. It seems here, based on your answers, as far as I can tell at least, that you're kind of a communist. What do you even think about that? Wolfgang Deo says, when MS Law's tweet is read, it will be Kim Potter. The Bleep Hole says, how dare you tell her to go back to North Dakota? We don't want her. I crossed state lines and now I'm on death row. Says, I'd like to call the defense lawyer, Attorney Fauci. Diz5 says, the upspeak says it's all woke. 5 picoseconds says, a solid reminder that the woke is imbued within the culture. Doesn't matter how red the state is, it will be there. Fight everywhere because it will catch up eventually. A warning from a Canadian. CBDX.com says, another day, another great stream. Sleuths says, poll between mommy ASMR and mommy feet. Gonfall says, we need equity, put more men on the jury. Daniel Aaron says, it's Ted Kennedy's not evil twin. Michael Kennedy, weird, says, love the show, Nick, but I don't like Kyle, too smug. I think you meant Kyle Kareth, but I don't know. Joe Myers 82 says, this guy looks like Will Ferrell playing Henry Correa on SNL. Daniel Aran says, G.I. Jane's latest action figure, social justice commando Karen. Ron Wood says, hey, man, love the show. I want to ask where I should go for immigration legal advice. Haven't been able to see my fiance in person for 2 years as a result of COVID border closings in her nation. Ron, it kind of depends on what state you're in. If you're near Minnesota, I can certainly direct you to an immigration attorney in the state. But if you're not, that's going to be a little bit different. Gonfall says, a firefighter. She's crazy. Get her out, judge. Firefighter dies in fires for people like her. Come on, man. Are you kidding me? Get her out of there. C485 says, purge the heresy. Real Hydro PX says, go back to the picture. Barnes looks like Guy Fieri. Mr. J, yeah, he did. Mr. JUPL says, if Barnes is Nash as he sued for summer of 92. Jillian Seed says, how cucked is this part of Minnesota? The Twin Cities? Very. Very. Gonfall says, female getting transitioned. I'm a real boy. Nose grows longer. Curious Z says, Ricada, did I hear the jury will be sequestered? Only during deliberations. When is that decided? It was decided pre-trial. The judge could sequester the jury at any time if the judge feels like it's necessary to preserve the integrity of the case. But for now, only during jury deliberations. Dapper Dave says, Bronca confused me. She was justified for deadly force with her gun, but when she said taser, 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 she lost that justification of deadly force. I think the idea is it's hard to convince a jury that you believed you're in reasonable fear of imminent death if you used less than deadly force. So if you thought deadly force was necessary, but then used less than deadly force, did you really think deadly force was necessary? I think is the argument. It's not a legal specific argument as much as it is a sort of jury strategy argument, if that makes sense. Really now says, getting rid of strikes eliminates the defendant's ability for a fair and just trial. I would agree with that. Random says, the Kyle trial had a tumbler of fate at the end for final jury selection. Would that basically negate the challenge anyways? A Batson challenge? I don't think so. Stephen Lavelle says, are you really not allowed to use your own expert knowledge of facts if you're on the jury? No, you can use whatever knowledge you want on the jury. They can't, I mean, they can tell you whatever they want, but when you go into the jury room, no one can stop you. You can go in and say, you can get in that jury room and say, I don't like white people, so I'm voting guilty. No matter what. Can we add extra crimes? Mikey Rock says, if she was a professor, you would definitely have to say pass the bell to let her finish her lecture. Oh, God, that'd be horrible. Call Me Straw says, Snake Mike explosion. Wolfgang Deo says, filling out my questionnaire, I want to be on this jury to hear Rekieta Law make fun of the judge, defense, and especially the funny-looking state. Trey Marks 315 says, I can all but guarantee you that none of these people feel scared of the right attacking them for a public guilty verdict. Everyone knows what they really mean. Philip Frakowitz says, why is the media allowed to require that the jury list be made public? That's endangerment to the jurors, in my honest opinion. I don't think they're allowed to require it, because the judge can keep it from, can seal it for a while. Eventually it'll come out just due to the interest of transparency in the courts. BMAC, welcome to Paralegal Status. Rick Barkhouse says, is that Potter sitting between the two defense lawyers? Yes. PFUS says, that's it. Now I'm drinking. BMAC says, as a Minnesota police officer, I'm very concerned about the precedent this trial may set in our state. We live in fear of being in Kim Potter's position. Avahine says, on behalf of EVS, do you think the judge is shaved? No. Wolfgang Deo says, it's not about what the defendant is trying to hide. It's about what you're trying to force the defendant to prove when you are doing witch trials. Josiah Carr says, what do you think of Japan locking out students and everyone else for 2 years, but letting their citizens vacation in America and around the world? You get to do whatever you want, right? Carranza says, kudos on making 3 days of jury selection entertaining. Legal Mindset, when will you be doing the video on how to build a career as a lawyer? Viden the Cold One says, Nick, why are they letting this, why are they saying this will start the 8th? Because it will. They're sticking with it. Alex A says, if Potter is testifying like they said, why would they even care about that question? I don't know. I mean, I guess it indicates biases. Maybe they won't have her testify. She doesn't have to still. Just because they said she will doesn't mean she actually will. News Now Wyoming says, Emily, talk Judge Chu to us. Mike the Dad Crosby says, hey, so you should convict her if you get on the case. Pride or Honesty says, Rekieta Law, there's no way I'm covering the entire jury selection. No. Rekieta Law, attentively listening and getting ready for day 4. Wolfgang Deo says, objection, hearsay, Blackie Lover. Bull Music says, found a witness for the prosecution. Mike P229 says, she's already told the entire jury pool waiting room about this history. Gonfall says, why do SJW females tend to believe everything their friends say? I had bad experiences with this. You don't need to believe me. Yeah, that's an issue in general. Rhino says, I wanted the juror with the comment about Potter being a witch and murdering her uncle to be a juror for Clown World purposes. A missed opportunity. 200 Watt Studio says, judge's radiant smile makes me so moist. Whisper. Really Now says, someone whips my wife. You better believe I'm going to know every detail about them. DCV, well, only if you're there. DCV Titan says, I missed the poll while at work, but would you like to go on the record as saying the judge has a decent voice, but I do not simp for the avatar of Ambien? Oh, they would like to go, not asking me. Vin Delano says, am I crazy for looking down on these people for their failure to be objective? No, look down on whoever you want. BMAX says, if Kim Potter is convicted, I'm done doing traffic enforcement or being proactive. It's just not worth taking the chance of mistakes and ending up here. Stephen Walk says, let's get this Burhurt guy on the jury. Mike, the Dad Crosby says, sad Dexterette got bounced. We need Hema Man. Chilled Milk says, I do this sport. It's awesome armored combat. Warrior Biatch says, hashtag fighting axe Chad. Angus says he should invite the lawyer to come out and try it. Poppycock says, do you ever accidentally axe someone shouting taser, taser, taser? His axe is actually tiny. That's the funny part. It's just, like the axe head is like this big. It's a little axe head on a long foam handled axe. Astray Adventurer says, first super chat ever for Sir Chattis. I hope the safety third for this firewalls, Lamau. Brandon James says, Knights of Xanthia, come, let us gingerly touch our tips. And the chat can't decide if those tips should be cut or uncut. Brendan says, how did they get Shadiversity on the jury? Zach Parrott says, objection, Your Honor, relevance to axe fighting. Wolfgang Dale says, HT in the Navy, he probably ate corn from the toilet. Charlie Heathcott says, Deus Volt. Scott M says, this guy 100% cosplays Gimli the Dwarf from Lord of the Rings. Striker A says, it's the Axeman of Minneapolis, safety third. Behind blood for the blood god and skulls for the skill throne. Behold, the seaman slayer. Mike the Dad Crosby says, is this puke or snot? Flamethrower says, the prosecutor took my sweet roll. Sweet roll. I challenge him. Astray Adventurer, thank you. Avahine says, LARPer bro inspired me to binge Axe Cop. Mike the Dad Crosby says, P.S. Puke and Snot are a duo that have been at the Renfest for decades. They have. They have. You know, the real reason that you should have every child circumcised is because it prevents docking. And docking is a menace. So, Really Now says, was an ACFT mechanic for 10 years. Engineers can get wrecked. Clockwork says, LARP owner here. This guy might be based. Live steel guys tend to be. Might be a giant, though. Boffer LARP might be giant, though. Boffer LARPers are the opposite. Call Me Straw says, I was really hoping the HEMA enthusiast was on our side, but I'm deeply disappointed. Ben Frail says, for your information, Callahan, the minority community, has just about had it with this sort of police work. Random Lobster says, is it woke to simp for ASMR mommy? Yes. Mike the Dad Crosby says, note, this HEMA guy doesn't have to be white. Automata says, why is Papa Mindset flirting with the nerd Axeman? The Lorax says, he came to slay dragons and lose his virginity. There are no dragons to be found. Gates of Above says, as the Axeman yelled, axe, 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 but pulled out his mace. Stephen Oglesby says, why is Legal Mindset in Korea? I was stationed in Busan in the 70s. He's there for work, for legal work of some sort. I think he's under NDA, so he can't really say why. Dapper Dave 2021 says, was the case eligible for a judge trial? If so, would the defense have been better off with a verdict by the judge based on the lethal force question? No. You're basically never better off on a bench trial, especially on a case with real consequences. Bench trial for a speeding ticket, sure, whatever. A bench trial for murder, manslaughter, never. Astray Adventure, did you cross state lines? Stuart George says, Judge ASMR negates the right to a speedy trial unless at 1.5 speed. Roosevelt Media News says, please do Mark Richards asking this judge to join him for a jostling match? Jostling? Do you mean jousting? Your Honor, I think we should get into a jostling match where we jostle. It's kind of a shake or a shimmy, if you will, Your Honor, is what jostling is. If we could get into one of those, maybe get our hands on each other, maybe some vigorous back and forth shaking. I think that would be good for the jury, for the witnesses, but mostly for me and you, Your Honor. Catherine RUX says, it would be funny if when they asked, where did you learn about firearms, that response was from the juror should have been video games. American B Savage says, would you bash Binger in the head with your axe? Squidsgar says, have you ever wanted to take a kosh and find the first bitch you meet? Pinking says, a police officer from another jurisdiction on the jury of a murder trial. Jay Carter says, so another name for gate force would be diaphragm. No semen get through. Michael Beeson says, it was IT system. I was IT systems admin in a courthouse, talked with lots of lawyers. Everyone said that IT was one of the professions they didn't like in the jury. Isaiah Burton says, master at arms are in fact law enforcement, just as military police are with investigative and arrest rights. They even patrol and write traffic tickets. Evan Wagler says, worked IT in Minnesota for 8 years. Most guys in IT were decently based. Nancy says, I'm a Navy vet and an engineer. I highly doubt this guy has left. Service members made me more aware of race issues, but it didn't make me left. See, that's kind of what I was saying earlier. It's hard to tell. Two Rivers says, I'm a scientist. You use a phrase with the words beyond and doubt. My brain automatically goes, wow, I'd like to see you pull this off. Explain to me your precise standard for reasonable. Eric Chieftain says, as an engineer, I understand Emily's bias against engineers on the jury. I would have a really high bar for conviction. Deep Service says, when did Minnesota and Wisconsin become two places? Thought it was just two different Indian names for the same wasteland. Avine says, as a prosecutor, Fred Willard from Best in Show thought he died last year. Was he not told that he is dead? By the way, Ackman has a man bun for sure. Crystal Clear says, we need the referee from Celebrity Deathmatch to jump out and yell, let's get it on. Sky Cave says, I was able to make it to the Jizz Lane trial and happened to cross Joe's path. Was close to calling him Sleepy Joe partway through the second half. Not Applicable says, FYI, if you need covenant eyes, you're going to hell. Michael Fisher says, 12 daughter. Emily, can you do prosecutor one day and defendant the next? Or do you need to go to different law schools for each? No, lawyers are just lawyers. Prosecutors and defense lawyers are just your job. There's actually, I think ethical obligations prevent you from being both at the same time. But there are weird cases where some private defense lawyers can do, they can be hired by a city to do contract prosecutions. But I think it might be an ethical violation because you have access to state records as a prosecutor you may not otherwise have as a defense attorney, and it could be abused. C for 85, welcome to the show as a paralegal. Kimberly Campbell says, I really don't foresee any psychologists going out with a cop to put their own life in danger. James Gentry says, Mr. Rickett, not psychologist, psychology's bitch, the social worker. James Gentry says, Mr. Ricketta, don't know if you heard, but Chad Daybell was in court via Zoom to set a trial date today. It was open to the public, January 2023. Scott Shook says, I'm a retired cop, and I always tell my friends to shut the F up if you're being questioned. Evil X Wise, check out HMB USA on YouTube. Gonfall says, Ricketta Law is the ultimate simp detector. If Ricketta was a prosecutor, it would be to prosecute simps. Marquis says, don't end it. Don't end it. Well, we did end it. All right. Now, on to last night's chats. So we got a little bit to go. A job done well. When I say state records, I mean stuff that is that would ordinarily be privileged, like perhaps attorney notes and case file information that would be confidential and not disclosable. Static Ball, I did talk about RGE being canceled already. So if you want to support, go retweet my tweet or Tugs or someone else. All right. Pride or Honesty says, your kid sounds like a sovereign citizen. If she starts to quote random international peace treaties, then ground her. Squizgar says, play the DUI, monkey boy. Trooper says, hey, King, between the judge, ASMR, and Jizz Talk from Joe, the degeneracy is real. LawTube is cozy. Shout to base chat. And in Kermit voice, Judge ASMR is mommy. God. Oh, straining on that one. Automata says, Gage drinks so he can pronounce his last name. Darth Crypto says, if you ever DM'd me back, I have timestamps. The Squid. Oh, wait. Law of Self-Defense. I missed this one yesterday. It says, Cop, you been drinking? Gage. Well, I'm shit-faced, so yeah. Cop, any guns in the car? Gage. Why? Any 17-year-olds around? The Squid says, Lamau, he ain't armed unless you count his bicep. Dark Rift Comics presents says, need a palate cleanser in between case discussions. Check out Lightbringer Genesis on Indiegogo from Iron Liz and Vic King. Published by yours truly, Dark Gift Comics. Yes, I'll be talking to Iron Liz sometime soon. I have to figure out when in my schedule that works. By the way, yes, I pronounce Lamau instead of saying LMAO because my kids pronounce internet whatchamacallit. what are those things called? Acronyms. They pronounce internet acronyms as words. So it's got to, you got to join the modern vernacular, y'all. Lamau, lamau, lamau. Goovyfoot says, thank you for the band names I'm considering for your streams. Toe Box and the Binger Fingers, Sludge Judge, and Cookie Gravy, not tarts. Alex Iao says, always have a gun with him. Summonable Trap says, Passenger is the friend from the Facebook mag dump post. Yep. Sketchum says, Lawyer Phil. Call Me Straw says, I'll have to catch up on this one later, bro. Cheers with a rabbit hole, Derringer Sherry. The good expensive stuff is for the Potter trial proper. William Knowles says, ain't no thing but a chicken wing. 2D Harem King Jack says, when a cop asked if Gage had a weapon, and after Gage's response, the cop should have responded with, good, wouldn't want to get my bicep shot off. At symbol hashtag says, you're appreciated. So are you. Corey Boatwright says, big shock, his DUI passenger was the roommate. Venray Lal says, field sobriety tests are also easily failed when 100% sober. Never asked to do one, but I plan to never take one. Poll, message retracted. Thank you from Poll, like as in Poland, I think. Thomas says, it doesn't look like 4chan poll. It looks like Polish flag in the background. Thomas says, I did not drink that bottle of whiskey, Mr. Officer. Lieutenant Heavy Metal says, is this passenger the Facebook poster from the Rittenhouse trial? Yes. Zachary Newsmoen says, in Washington, if you refuse a breathalyzer or field test, your license is suspended for 1 year and your refusal can be used against you during sentencing. Really Now says, I smell it. Yeah, officer, I just sharted. It's from 8 hours ago. The Lorax says, remember rackets, simps at 57% are the chat captains now. Brandon James says, police report suspect was noticeably less coordinated with his right arm. Tim S says, this is all done during the Gage DUI stop. That's what these chats are from. Tim S says, in New Orleans, we have drive-through daiquiris. It's not an open container until you put the straw in. Venray Lal says, can you do a Richards impression of this cop asking Gage these questions? No, I don't remember what they were. Derby Wormy says, do you remember under oath, wallet, phone, gun? Jacob says, everyone, if you drink, call a friend for a ride instead of driving drunk. Graham Dugas, thanks for donation. Mark Gee says, this super chat is not tied to any request to a performance or related to any services rendered. Instead, the super chat is a tax write-off for supporting the arts. Doesn't work that way, unfortunately, for me. Stephen Oglesby says, how about super chat as a charitable donation? It's not. It is not. If there are anybody, there's a certain streamer out there who seems to think that his tips or donations, because he calls them donations, not tips, that calling them donations somehow makes them something other than what they are. DSP, no, buddy, no. Bogey 34 says, imagine thinking we'd let you get away with 7 minutes of a 2.5 hour video. I can't figure out which 7 minutes they'd pick. It was most of the relevant stuff, honestly. Jay says, if you're a law-abiding square and get pulled over, is it okay to be a simp and just answer questions to avoid making it confrontational? If you want. I don't do it that way. And I still don't get tickets. But some people don't like confrontation. I'm not confrontational. I'm respectful. I just say no to everything. KFG says, does Gage strike you as spooky? Really Now says, what? Well, it's like his third DUI, so of course he knows what to do. William Knowles says, that's 2 for flinching. Graham Dugas, thank you again. Dark Fox 2000 says, he has to drink to deal with the right bicep pain. Garville Loken says, Gage just strikes me as a petulant child. Just an absolute trash human being. The Emperor protects. Gage may strike you as a petulant child, but Gage got struck in the arm for his petulance. Corey Boatwright says, when the cop gripped his arm, he should have said, wow, that's all padding. Donald Gooch says, good thing Gage doesn't have Richards as his lawyer. He'd advise not to object to the questions. Don Booz says, rather than the attorney spiel, wouldn't it be better to just say I'm invoking my right to silence? Probably. Rhonda Ernst says, law of self-defense is cracking me up. One law student says, Nick, did you read my super chat on Moon? Yes, I did. The Ballsagger, I did and responded on that show. Ballsagger says, Kathleen Castillo drove through protest when they surrounded her car last year in New York. She just refused the plea deal. Seems interesting. Love you, no homo. Yes, I saw that. I'll have to check it out. Corey Boatwright says, if I idled forward without the seatbelt fastened first, like the cop, I'd get a ticket. I love it. Gunblade Knight says, cop, anything up your sleeve, sir? You're wrong. Says, unironically, he has a military issue belt. Or ironically. Yeah, he also had, he was not an army medic, but I heard his do no harm tattoo with the KNOW is like a military medic slogan. He also had it looked like a rudder wheel tattoo on his forearm. Gage might just be a military LARPer in general. Really now says, I keep my passport in my car, but I'm ex-military and have had to leave the country a couple times in less than 24 hours. JT Goldfish says, nose here is a nickel for you, but if he is under arrest, I thought if a lawyer's requested any questions asked would be a violation of Miranda. Not necessarily. It's not that simple and straightforward. Pissed Off Patriot 83 says, dude, he had 2 arms. CC says, if he didn't have a license to show, he could use the passport to get into bars. Only reason I can think of for the passport. Malachi Gaming and Talk says, so glad I told you about this. Guardian says, in pre-trial, we found out his chair was as strong as his right arm. It's true. That's true. Savage Dart says, is the passenger the same guy that shared the infamous only regret post? Yes. Also need a Ghislaine update when you get a chance, please. Again, for the Ghislaine updates, I would suggest checking out Good Logic. He's down at the courtroom, and he's releasing 2 videos a day and doing a live stream at night. Although today will probably be truncated because he is an observant. He's an observant Jewish man, and so he will be observing Sabbath. And I think that starts at like 3 for him. Maybe it's 4. He'll get most of the day in, but I don't know if he'll get his second video up. And he won't have a live stream tonight, but I'm guessing he will tomorrow get those taken care of. Kristen09 says, would be funny if he said, can I contact attorney to see if I can take a nap to sleep this off first? Dark Fox says, had a buddy in college that ate mushrooms and then got arrested 20 minutes later. Oof. Stephen Oglesby says, can I get my Glock back? Gunblade Knight. Ghislaine Maxwell. Gunblade Knight says, honestly, he should have just claimed a disability with his driving and then sued the county for failure to accommodate for his disability like Greer. Donald Gooch says, this is why I drink at home. Yes. Jack Hudler says, looks like his metal nerve survived the 5.56 evaporative test. Medial nerve. He can pull the trigger but not hold the gun. Daniel Rosa says, never use your passport as your primary ID. I hate having to issue them to dummies who lose them to go to bars, but some people like to throw over $200 away. Lol. Pissed Off Patriot says, haha, man, every time I cuff someone, I'd be like, book 'em, Dano. At symbol hashtag says, was he drunk when he drove an hour or so to Kenosha? It's a good question that was never asked by the police. William Knowles says, did the bailiff tell him to raise his right hand when he testified? Yes. PS says, I know you can't provide advice, so hypothetically, what would you do if you got pulled over for a DUI in Minnesota? If I got pulled over for DUI in Minnesota, I would say no, or I'm invoking my right to remain silent. That's it. And I would provide my driver's license. If they asked me for a field test, I would likely say no. And they could take me in. I would consent to the intoxilizer because to not do that would be a crime in Minnesota. And I don't drive under the influence anyway, but I would not do a field sobriety test. Zachariah Kitzman says, Rackets, Michigan is the same civil infraction for refusing PBT. Criminal infraction for refusing blood and breath. Then the DUI on top of it. Nabor 605 says, I learned so much of the court legal system from your coverage of Kyle Rittenhouse this past month and now learning about this DUI process, all while having fun and entertainment. Cheers, dude. Hey, you too. Barry Soitoro, thank you for joining. William Knowles says, how many shots did you take? Just one. Really now says, if the warrant lasts 24 hours, couldn't you withhold until you sobered up? no, they'll execute the warrant on you. You can't withhold. If you keep withholding and resisting, they're authorized to use reasonable force to effect the warrant. Oh, God. Innovator Setsuna. I do know, and I've tweeted about it and talked about it on the show. Brandon James says, Lagavulin Distillers Edition going on board while Gage gets stuck. Who's with me? Donald Gooch says, law of self-defense. I'm not funny. You're funny. I'm not funny. You're funny. Dark Fox 2000 says, at least they have the right arm down on the chair to draw blood. Kristen09 says, where is Andy Griffith when you need him? Gage. D365 says, note that the cop keeps putting Cap in the right side of the vehicle, probably due to his training on keeping on the weak side of the suspect to him. Baby Cake says, be sure to watch the parts with his friend talking to the cops. That was beautiful. Beautiful. New York Yankee James says, can we take a moment to appreciate the fact that Kyle turned this commie into a literal lefty for life? This is proof God has a sense of humor. Malefic says, how do we fix the justice system so that falsely calling someone a World War II bad guy can result in successful defamation lawsuit? You gotta get the courts to redefine defamation law, basically. Redefine how that's applied. This is still the same first shot of vodka I poured, by the way. I'm just taking microscopic sips because it's disgusting. It's disgusting. So I'm not sitting here pounding shots of vodka, just so you guys know. Here, I'll show you. We're still way up here on the bottle. Shitty Angler says, can't put my finger on it, but Andrew looks like someone from Mass Effect. Kuro Terran says, I had drunk high guy try to record my name one time after I witnessed him crash his car after leaving the hospital I worked at. His phone was off because the battery died. What are my thoughts? Okay. I mentioned this earlier. I don't know enough about the charges to see how they made the charge. So in the Michigan case, I have to look at it. At first glance, I thought maybe it'd be related to negligent storage. Someone said Michigan doesn't have negligent storage law. So then I don't know. I have to look at the charges and see how they get there. Gerdoyle, I can't break out the Middleton. It's done. It's done. Charles Robinson, all vodka is not the same. There's a big difference between Popov and Tito's. Jacob says, Andrew is not on Team Simp. Brandon James says, Jesus, imagine if the nurse rolled up the wrong sleeve and tried to find a vein. I Need Truth One says, homeschool co-op. The more you speak, the more I'm a fan, lol. The Lorax says, chat simp captains, may I direct your attention to Nurse Mommy. Pissed Off Patriot says, I talked to Gage. He said the only regret he had was not killing the kid. Goes to court. He didn't say that. Mentendo Power says, guy at my work said Dominic purchasing and holding rifle for Kyle was considered a straw purchase, and my father says you lose your rights when you're in the middle of an illegal act. Both of those are incorrect and incomplete analysis. Purchasing, straw purchase is a purchase for someone who cannot make a purchase. That is different from buying a gun and owning it yourself and holding it in trust for someone who will later benefit from the ownership of that gun. Kyle and Dominic both testified that they agreed that Kyle would not own that gun until he was 18. Dominic owned that gun. Dominic is fully allowed to own that gun. Unless Kyle, they would have to demonstrate that Kyle possessed some of the sticks of the property rights bundle. Yes, property rights are a bundle of sticks. So if Kyle were able to exclude Dominic from selling the gun. So Dominic doesn't have a right of alienability. Then maybe Dominic doesn't own it. If Kyle maintained the right of possession, then maybe maybe Dominic doesn't own it. We don't have any testimony to any of those things. In fact, we seem to have testimony to the opposite. So no, that analysis is incomplete, and you do not lose your rights when you are in the middle of an illegal act, including the right to self-defense. Even if you, we saw this with Coffee, right? The Coffee guy who shot the police officers, who did a no-knock raid and shot his girlfriend. He returned fire, killing one of the officers. He was justified in returning fire and killing the officers. He won that self-defense claim. His belief that he was in imminent death or bodily harm of him or another was reasonable. His girlfriend died, making it pretty obviously reasonable belief that he was in fear. However, he's being convicted on the gun charge because he was a felon with a gun. So self-defense doesn't get rid of all of your issues, just the issues that could be successfully defeated with a self-defense claim. The other underlying felonies, those, you have to deal with those. Hit, not killed. Oh, so it was attempted murder? Either way, doesn't matter. Mr. Snuffles, you're thinking of Breonna Taylor for the hit and not shooting through the door, I think. Oh, yeah, they tried to get felony murder on him for firing the gun, but her being killed or whatever by the police. Limited state, it's stone. It's not wood or ceramic. It's you get them at tourist places, but it's stone that's carved out and polished. I got to keep going. I got stuff to do. I got to go get ready. Neighbor 605 says, I literally spent the last day catching up on the 3 days of juror selection, 1.5x speed. I almost regret it if not for the commentary. Ramon says, you and Andrew's debate on the Chad Reed shooting is absolutely incredible. Seriously, you guys are true role models, and I love both of you. Chat, check me out on YouTube. Type in Ramon Black Knight. Andrew Clark says, do the simping poll again. Brandon James says, Judge Ambien knows you're watching. At the judge's bar each evening, they laugh their judge asses off. Good. That'd be great. That'd be great. I think the judges should do that. It'd be funny. Scott Steiner, the world's greatest ring announcer, says Kyle should send Fatlock a box of donuts. Inside should be the notice of intent to sue the city for violating Kyle's constitutional rights. Pissed Off Patriot says, I bet Gage is taking some BBC. Pika Warp says, it was 2 hours, 16 minutes between the traffic stop and Gage's blood draw complete. Real Bambunga says, Judge Ambien, she sleepwalks and enters fugue states and makes racist tweets. Jack of the Dead says, on a scale of 1 to livid, how angry is the officer that he got off after he went through all this that night to hand the DA a gift wrapped case? I bet he doesn't care, honestly. I bet he doesn't care. Gunblade Knight says, speaking of bad guys trying to get his girlfriend to change her statement, have you read up on Julius Jones? No, I haven't had any time to do that. Nick DeSalt says, a true public servant, Nick Rekieta, grifting for good. Also, please give opinions on the Murdaugh case in South Carolina. Not familiar. Dapper Wolf says, this is why I don't drink. That is what Nick's liver is for. Also, Nick, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 6, Episode 1, Twitch reaction, please, Boomer. Eddie Oliver says, Andrew or Nick, you hear about the cop in Tucson, Arizona who shot a guy in a wheelchair 9 times in the back. How's that for use of force? Both Andrew and I seem to agree that is not justified under anything that we saw. Eddie Oliver, no, Rich Hardesty says, any thoughts, opinions on Mike Schmidt, the Multnomah, Portland, Oregon DA? As shitty as Binger was, I feel like he isn't much better. No idea on him. Ms. Irish Eyes, welcome to the channel as a paralegal. The Real Bambunga says, wow, that noise got old fast. WTF is that? Automata says, you hear that? The director of the DC Department of Corrections caught a contempt charge over failure to facilitate medical treatment for January 6 inmates. No, I didn't hear that. Oblividan said they shouldn't still be in jail if they have not had trial yet. That we should all be able to agree on that 11 months is too long for someone to be in jail without trial or hearing, like some of the January 6th inmates, since they're being held like without bail and stuff like that. It's crazy to me. Stop asking me about the Michigan school shooter thing. I've answered it like 10 times. Sorry, you probably weren't here when I answered it, but I'm not going to keep answering it. Go back. Andrew says, does Andrew Bronca's watch cost more than my car? See this watch? You see this watch? This watch costs more than your car. That's who I am, and you're nothing. Angry Bellsprout says, Tuesday morning was the best nap ever. Thanks, Nick. Tony Alto says, hey, Andrew, great to see you on the show. Can you grift a bit? I need that concealed carry org info. I want to start that plan. I don't remember which one it is. Sorry. DNH says, can we watch some bad self-defense interrogations? Maybe. That'd be fun. Batgoat says, hey, are you the famous lawyer guy? So cool. Wait, who? Me or Andrew? Probably Andrew. Philip Booty says, Andrew, those chairs weigh 300 pounds. Won't tip easy. Angry Bellsprout says, justice system treats women with alcohol like toddlers. There's no equal treatment under law. Domestic violence shelters discriminate male victims thanks to Biden Violence Against Women Act, 1994. Zen Skata says he had to keep Mr. Salamanca from ringing that effing bell trigger. Wolfgang Deo says, wouldn't abortion be best argued by Fifth Amendment? I think the Mississippi guy is doing the best job I've seen of an abortion argument so far. So good job for him. Lily Phoenix says, I agree, but just my take on listening to the court ask questions. The justices seem to be looking for it. I support Carrie everywhere. Rhonda Ernst says, will the parents in the school shooting be prosecuted? Apparently they will. Pissed Off Patriot says, come on, man. You just need a shotgun. Why do you need an AR-14? Tony Alta says, super chats are not getting through. Andrew Griff, the name of that org you belong to again. Sleuth says, fight over Nipplegate. Dead of Pool says, I broke the no crying rule today. Completely unashamed. Brandon James says, lawyers never always agree on anything. Haha, take that, English language. Cole Goodman says, historically, he fell was synonymous with death. We are consciousness inside a water balloon. Ace at symbol hashtag says, prosecutors will make more than that if they climb the political ladder. Stop pretending 99% of prosecutors are good. Tired. Adam Harritz says, I just want to say thanks for what you do. I work at night and stay up at night on my days off. You provide awesome entertainment. Tony Alto says, chats are not going through. Hey, Andrew. Oh, God, I wish I would have seen these live. Hey, Andrew, give us the name of the group you belong for help with Carrie incidents. Tony Alto, if you're there, email me. I'll get you the info. Steve Burrow says, in many parts of our society, it's inconceivable that friends can vigorously disagree but still be friendly and collegial. Caligula says, ever played the first Witcher game for literally 3 minutes? Zoltan Chivet drops a line. Progress is like a herd of pigs. The herd brings many benefits, but one should wonder at all the shit. Nailed it. Curly Bill says, as a university that measures itself by whom it includes and how they succeed, should he choose to seek admission in the future, his application will be processed as any other would be, President Crow wrote in the statement. Ben Samuel says, there's a real skill to disagreeing cordially. You need tact to avoid bruising egos and avoid investing your own ego. JMUO's fan 182 says, Andrew, how can we change the culture when it comes to influencing the legal system? Advocacy. Advocacy, education. I'm kind of hoping that the exposure that happened with the Rittenhouse trial breeds similar interest in subsequent trials, and people get to see what the system looks like and figure out where it's broken. Bogey says, I've heard many of LawTube say don't go to law school, but you also say, and I agree, leftists are going, can't combat the law if you run and hide. Lone Wolf Ranger says, most firms haven't hired in 2 to 3 years in small states. Most state PDs and ADAs make 30-ish. Many long-term barely make 50. First 5 years are awful. Yeah, Binger prosecuting one of the biggest cases in the entire nation, right? Kyle Rittenhouse, prosecutor, $66,000 a year. He's been a prosecutor for 8 years. 66 grand. Better pay back those student loans. Donald Gooch says, at law of self-defense, as a statistician, you are thinking of the difference between the mean and the median. Jacob says, one of my coworkers at Apple graduated from law school and hated it so bad that he taught himself to code. Levi King says, I'm an engineer, but you guys making me want to go to law school to be the most incompetent prosecutor on earth. Larry Herzog Jr. says, what camera do you use? I see you use an RE20 mic. I'm using a Sony Alpha 7R4. That's the camera. D says, have either of you watched the Trayvon Hoax movie? It's on YouTube. I have not watched it. I think Andrew has. Hallucinosis says, college is expensive. I was offered 60 grand in 1998 after a summer internship at 19. Hashtag debt free, now principal software engineer. Angry Bellsprout says, does Andrew remember the Joe Horn case? True Anonana Shabada Bad Pressure Badakafikare says, you do make good money as a plumber, but it's hard on your body. Signed, pampered plumber's wife who spends her time here because I don't have to work. Pissed Off Patriot says, I went to a tech school and I probably make more than most of you. I make over 100K a year living in South Carolina, blue collar all the way. Ryoji Mata says, thanks for the massive black pills. Think I'm done living in the U.S. if our rights basically mean nothing. Rotor at Fib says you should get the DUI guy on your panel. The Marshallist says, I only have eyes for Joe now. Hallucinosis says, oh man, did it come with Szechuan sauce? Harbinger 345 says, I will take every opportunity to spread the word of the spicy nuggies. Jack Sakai says, when I was young, I got pulled over. He asked me where I was going. I said, home from a movie, and he talked to me for 20 minutes, which parts I liked, and so on. He relaxed halfway through and let me go. Nayland says, what about Lois Lerner? She gave a speech about how innocent she was and then claimed the fifth. The Real Bambunga says, remember the good old days when shootings were kept at post offices where they belong? Jeez. Fen Serex says, my granddad was a cop for 60 years and homicide for 17. He said, I don't care who died, mom, dad, sister. Your job is to shut up and get out of the way. Any info an HD needs can go through a lawyer. Jackson Kai says, ghost lives mattered. Leo says, are there any situations where being silent isn't a good idea or necessary? Like at a traffic stop, I feel like I need to be cooperative. You never need to be cooperative. There are times where being cooperative benefits you, but you don't need to. I don't know, but there's no objective benefit to it. There's no like, well, in this situation, it would be good to be cooperative. No. Your legal self-defense, not self-defense, but your legal defense is bolstered by your silence. And it is harmed by your words. Ed W. says, I live in Texas. Using a gun if you just lost a fight makes you a wimp. Killing your stepson's dad is like a crime against all that's holy. Mark Sermon says, I want to hear about them nuggies. Rowdy Pope says, yeah, yeet, Andrew. Pop-Tart says, was this DWI brought to us by McDonald's? Did you get a free Happy Meal with each conviction? Jackson Kai says, so if in Texas I have a howitzer named Perfect Self-Defense loaded with M982 Excalibur self-guided rounds, I'm good within 40,000 kilometers, right? Yes. Yep. HP says, Nick, you're doing a really good job. Congrats and thank you for the good teaching and entertainment. Peace, peace. Pimp Poppy says, what's your take on Roof Korea and self-defensive property? I love the Roof Koreans. They were great. Corey Boatwright says, my dad brought in Ayub as an expert for a case. Masad Ayub. Giant Mess says, you walk up to my house threatening me. I don't give a crap who is around, but I would have let him in the house and tell him to back out or else for me means I get Mr. Hatchet out. Scarvy the Strange says, imagine being so selfish that you pick a fight with a gunman and get shot, leaving your kids with one father dead and the other in prison. Real Bambunga says, I can't stand babies They're just horrible. They make this horrid sound and won't stop until you give them food, like for free. Also, they smell bad. Mark Sermon says, let's hear about the Nuggies. Radio Ruin says, Broncos-based racial argument has convinced me I'm now pro-choice. Jamie Blanco says, I love Unfiltered Bronca. Can we get more cursing in the law of self-defense vids, please? No way. That's got to be off-brand for him, I think. 200 Watt Studio says, Nick, just stay awake. Too late to sleep anyway. Mark Sermon says, it's just like being a good interviewer. Shut the fuck up and wait. They'll spill their guts. Bogey34 says, what do you do at a sobriety checkpoint? If you're 100% sober and you're anything less, and if you're anything less than 100%. Sobriety checkpoints depends on the state, but in some states, they're not actually constitutional. They're not able to actually ask you the questions legally without your consent. So shut up. Give them your ID through your window. Don't say anything other than your identifying information. Don't answer their questions and just go home. That's for both situations. Again, to do an investigatory stop, right? The police have to have some sort of articulable suspicion, reasonably articulable suspicion. This is Terry versus Ohio. No, not Terry versus Ohio. It's called a Terry stop. Checkpoints, they can stop you, but they don't get to do an investigative stop without some sort of suspicion. You driving on the road is not suspicious. So Donald Gooch says, Andrew, repeat after me. Sally sells seashells by the seashore. She sells seashells on the seashore. There you go. D. Watt says, I respect the hustle. Knows. Real Bambunga says, number of Pinto drivers who die from using their signal. Walter Deadman says, Jesus, did they pull over Ricky from the Trailer Park Boys? Phoenix Lord Asserman says, last time I saw a cop say stop talking was Worski's big aim incident. It's just as funny now. Great show tonight. Cerberus 2185 says, haven't sent a chat in a long time, so here you go. Got a good name for your lawyer panel. Rackets Rack. Just a bunch of boobs. Perfect. Jamie Blanco says, here's to Bronca. Take another drink. Pissed Off Patriot says, what's the brace doing in the floor? Oh, he got his arm shot off in Kenosha. Jonathan Duger says, I talked my way out of a reckless driving thing one time, and the friend who was with me was impressed. BG says, Bronca, hangover stream tomorrow, please. Jonathan Duger says, are there different rules for CDLs as far as complying with searches and whatnot? There may be. I don't know. Mark Sermon says, nobody would wear pants, use stall doors, own headphones, lock their doors, or use window curtains if they had nothing to hide. Shar Worley says, can't Binger go after Kyle Rittenhouse for armed robbery of Gage? Arm rob. Got it. Bogey says, cheese from 8 Mile. The stupid friend Gage keeps around to feel smart. Benjamin Trotter and Donald Gooch, welcome to lawyer and paralegal status, respectively. And then there's only a couple chats that I have not read so far on this one. Eugene says, will you continue reviewing the Supreme Court case, or you'll leave the Griff license to this legal eagle simping uncivil guy? No, I will continue reviewing it, but I'm not going to do it now because going up until 4 p.m. was my hard limit, but I have other stuff I've got to get ready for this weekend. So I'm going to have to end the stream really, really soon here. Oh, man. Or were we? Here we go. Ryan Holworth says, have you talked about Cortez Wright trying to intimidate the judge? A little bit. Red Dragon says, going to defend a part of the Libertarian Party, the Mises Caucus. We're taking it over from the people who make it a joke. Good luck, buddy. Good luck. They need it. Willem Dafoe Gaming says, the only good Libertarian Party is ANCAPs. Long live the mixed state. Bitter Snuffleupagus says prosecutor in Oakland County, Michigan has charged both parents with involuntary manslaughter in the school shooting. How's that not prosecutorial overreach? Again, I don't know the charges well enough to tell you. I have to look into it. Celtic Commando Gaming says, could you attack Roe via equal protections clause, claim bodily autonomy is a right that isn't equally applied? Read that one. Josh Pecol says, could you please get law of self-defense drunk more often? Him slurring his speech while ripping on a drunk guy is gold. That was fun. Are you dumb enough? Well, are you? Welcome to super lawyer status. Also says, fucking love you, homie. You alone are waking up so many people. You alone have helped me wake up so many people. For that, I'm eternally grateful. Hey, thanks, buddy. Piss Off Patriot says, they took her fur skins. Skeleton says, you're surprised the chat got sucked off course into circumcision discussion. My YouTube says they are charging the parents in Oxford High School shooting in Michigan. Will you cover this and break it down? Yes. It may not be till tomorrow. Jay Schrader says, Michigan DA just charged school shooters' parents each with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter for purchasing the gun. Kevin Haas, thank you for donation. Jeff K says, can we do... hey, Jay Schrader. Name seems familiar. Jeff K says, can we do a watch along to the Three Stooges Disorder in the Court? Lol, it's a classic. I don't know. Ron Woods read that one. Josiah Carr read that one. Pancake Turd says, you should try and have Tom Woods on your show. I think you guys would have an amazing conversation. Ron Wood says, Wisconsin, and I don't want to cross state lines, man. That's a risky move these days. Yeah, Ron, if you want immigration legal advice, you probably just want to Google immigration attorneys in Wisconsin. But if you need a reference, they're technically federal, so you don't have to do Wisconsin. I could refer you to one or two if you email me, but they're going to be in Minnesota and maybe in Texas. So, MLC says, parents charged with involuntary manslaughter in school shooter case. Thoughts? Billy Boy Blue says, hey, I'm a partner over here at Munch Rug and Bang. Any idea how to be so badass on YouTube? Good work, sir. My advice is honesty. Luke Blanche says, you cannot demand the release of the jury's identity before, during, or after the trial under these known instances. Nick, you're great. Wet slap the idiot that said that. Cheers. Gregory says, I practice armored combat HEMA also. Those tiny axe heads are just sneaky in line fight, as can score lots of hits. Look up Wolin on YouTube. Victor's Garage says, some pennies for a Richard style havoc. Havoc, Your Honor. Kyle Bogue says, Your Honor, your ASMR mommy voice is wreaking havoc on my pants. Kyle Bogue says, if you want to learn why not to have a bench trial, Google Jordan Holm in Iowa, sexual assault conviction based on trace DNA found on her leg, total screw job. Catherine Ruck says, the joke goes like this. Cop, have you been drinking? You guys always ask if I've been drinking, but you never ask if I've been eating. Squawk says, I only watch VTubers now, so please get a cute anime girl avatar and start speaking exclusively Japanese. Otherwise, I'll have to switch to one of the many VTuber law channels. Ben David, thanks for the donation. Tux Loves You says, live life in the jizz lane. Nalzak says, what do you think about the parents of school shooter being charged with manslaughter? Not sure if you've already talked about it. Yeah, I'll have to look more into it. Allison Black, welcome to Paralegal Status. Nintendo Power says, read that one. Ben David says, is it illegal for a private attorney acting as a municipal prosecutor to lead code violation defendants into a room for a plea negotiation meeting at an initial appearance, which the judge was not even present at and in no right to attorney was given? Sounds wrong to me. Sounds wrong to me. DD, welcome to Paralegal Status. Umreet says, Nick, I think it will be a really nice collab with Good Luck America on YouTube. He's a retired cop with extreme understanding for freedom. Are you deaf enough? Well, are you? Says, please never stop. You're one form of the tip of the spear. Pothead Investor says, where can I see your reaction to the guy in the wheelchair, Nick? It was at the end of day 3's live stream. So yesterday's live stream is the end of that one. We watched it with a couple other lawyers. Nunya Business says, thanks for all the work you do. I have a new hobby, watching trials. Umreet says, favorite video from Good Luck America, 7 minutes, 46 seconds. Female police fail because of low standards. Almost cost her life. Quotas get people hurt. Nancy says, Corey Shearfeasy has a YouTube channel. Yes, he does. And people have asked me if I'd be open to interviewing him. Yeah, I'm going to reach out to him and Richards since Miss Wisco broke my heart and accepted Legal Bites' interview and hasn't responded to me on mine. I don't know how I'll ever recover, but I'll be reaching out to Shearfeasy and Richards to see if they'd be interested. I don't think they're going to, but I'm going to reach out. So there you go. That's it, guys. Whew. We're going to end it early today. I got some stuff to do to get ready for the weekend. Again, keep an eye on Locals for announcements about Locals exclusive live streams, for announcements about any potential live chats on Discord, things like that. That's it. I'll see you guys soon. I've got some stuff to upload, more stuff from the Rittenhouse trial. I'm uploading that in sections. I got Rittenhouse's testimony up. I think I've got Gage's testimony to put up. There's a couple other of those things. So I'll try and get those uploaded throughout the weekend if I can. But otherwise, I'll see you guys soon. No, there's not going to be a YouTube stream tonight. But there may be a local stream tonight. May be. But there will not be a YouTube stream tonight because I can't manage that probably. So, all right, guys, catch you later. Have a good night. Peace.
Oh, he drinks a fair bit, but you realize that it just helps get his noggin jogging along. With his glass by his side and his kids asleep tight, we'll hear some law-splaining tonight. With his microphone muted, we'll laugh at this boomer until he explains it's all part of the plan. Watch his face become redder as he becomes madder, raging at idiots from Twitter and Erlang. From the white shores of Maine to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, his lady is fair, and she handles herself with the grace of one who has borne many children. As the wife of a lawman, she makes sure that he has the time and the place to provide for them there. So pour out an Ardbeg, a Balmore, a Lafroig. The spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter, as we hear law-splaining tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, the guests are all plentiful, from Dundee to Drexel. They bring their perspective and spice to the mix. But the reason we're here and the one that we cheer is the one who is showcasing us his career. Get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter, as we hear law-splaining tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour